Hello, my name is Mario Martinez and welcome to this ABB Robot Studio tutorial number 5. In this tutorial we're going to be learning about how to make a simple pick and place machine, with a simple robot, with an ABB robot, and also how to put some conveyors and how to put some other objects inside the workspace and how to handle them using the event manager. Let's start by creating our environment. In this case, the first thing that we're going to be doing is from the import library, we're going to be using some training objects. In this case, we're going to use some tables. Select please table small. You can select the other table as well. It's the same. This is just for simple, exemplary purposes. Let's make 6 of them. Actually, I can just copy paste them. Control C, Control V. You will see 3, 5. There you go. So I have 5. In fact, I'm going to erase this. I'm going to copy the next one. There you go. So now you can see that I have 6 tables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go. Now it doesn't matter where they appear. If they appear in a different position, it's fine. Don't worry. Now we're gonna put them in the right position. In this case, we're gonna make like a super big table composed of several small tables. So we're gonna select the first one, modify, set position, and in set position, let's go with 250 and minus 375 and 0 in set. We click apply, then we click for table number 2. Yeah, let's do the same, minus 250. Minus 375 and 0 in set. Apply. Table number 3, the same thing. Minus 750. Minus 375 and 0 in set. Apply. As you can see, I am table 4 now. As you can see, I'm making a very big table because we're going to be using a lot of components. We're going to be putting a lot of components on top of them. So this is minus 750, 375, and 0. Sorry about that. Minus 750, 375, and 0. Be careful when you put the coordinates. Apply. There you go. Table 5. Minus 250, 375, and 0. Apply. Finally, table 6. The same, 250, 375, and 0. Apply. Then we can close this, and you can see we made a very big table. Using the coordinates of the tables. By the way, how did I get this coordinate? Well, that was quite simple. I just measured the table. You can measure it using the measurement tool, attach point, and you can measure from one corner to the other. And you say 750, so half of it is 350. I'm sorry, so half of it is 375. Yeah, so it's quite easy to get the coordinates. And now we have our big table. Now, the next thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to add a robot. Let's do the IRB 1010, which is a small robot. You can see it's a small robot. Widely used in small, like small manufacturing areas or assembly areas. In this case, we're going to use it. That's why we're going to be using it. And we're going to change the position, modify, set position. We're going to just put it on top of the table. So set position here. And then here, we're going to put 400. So it's on top of the table. It's done. And close. And there we go. We have our robot, we have our tables. And now the last thing, a virtual controller. We're going to create a controller for this robot from layout. Select just next, and finish. Assist. And now you can see the controller is starting. We can just wait until the control starts. Now it's connecting, and there you go. Now the controller is fully connected. Now, the next thing that we have to do is we are going to add other components to this layout. The first component that we're going to be adding is the gripper. We're going to make the gripper that we made in the previous tutorial. We're going to make it in here again, and we're going to put it in the robot. If you want to see in a more in-depth way how did I develop the gripper, how did I configure the gripper, please refer to my previous tutorial. Because in here I'm going to skip some, well, not skip, but I'm going to go through some steps like quite fast. So again, import geometry, browse from geometry, gripper base, the hand of the gripper, open, copy the hand of the gripper, or import it again because it didn't get copied. So I'm just going to import it again, the hand, open. I'm going to make everything invisible so we can see the gripper. I'm going to make the gripper from scratch again. So I select this one, move and rotate. And in here, I'll select a point. Set position there. And then I'm just going to rotate around, I think it's X. There you go. There you go, one, apply. I'll do the same for the other one, close. Select the piece, set position, select that position, select the center position there. I'm going to rotate to 90 degrees, and I'm going to rotate 180 degrees inset so that I can have my full gripper. Apply, there you go. So my grip is almost done. I'm going to create a mechanism, close, modeling, create mechanism. In here, I'm going to call it like gripper. The type of mechanism is a tool. Yeah, it's another in kinematics type. I can define the links with the pop-up window. The base link is the gripper base, set as base link. And apply, then link 2 is the gripper hand one. Yeah, add, apply, and then the next one is gripper hand 2. Add, apply, cancel. There you go. I have all my links. Now I need to define the joints. In this case, it's going to be a prismatic joint. I define my first point because this is how I want the thing to move. So I want to move in this direction, and the second point in this direction. There you go. And okay, so the maximum is 80. The minimum is 0. There you go. Now I can check. Yeah, everything is fine. Apply. I'll do the same for the other joint, but prismatic, the parent link is the base link. We don't forget about that. The position, the first one, the type of movement. So the second, to get the line of movement. Oops, sorry. This one and the second one, that one. There you go. This one, okay, so I put an 80 there, and I put a 0 here. Check, done, apply, cancel. There you go. I got my joints and I got my links. So now the next thing that I have to do is I'll go to get the tool data. Here in tool data, and you know what, before continuing, I think in the joints, you know, they're not bad, but I think 80 is quite too much. So I'm just going to turn it back to 70. I can leave it at 80. It's not a problem. It doesn't really matter. But I'm just going to leave it at 70. Okay, so now in tool data, we know what tool data means now. I'm just going to set up the position of the tool data, the TCP. And in this case, the TCP I want it to be here, and I'm going to give it in 0 to get it this, so that's my tool center position. That's my TCP. The mass is 1 kilogram. We already checked that using the software. Yeah, and the center of gravity, if I remember correctly, is at 62.27 millimeters in the Z direction, so it's around here more or less. We check that using the Autodesk Fusion. You can use SolidWorks, you can use any other software for this matter. So now we have our gripper. Now we compile the mechanism and we can start adding the poses. Yeah, so the first pose that I'm going to add is the open gripper. So basically, when the gripper is fully open, that way and that one, I'm going to put it in here, gripper open, and then apply. The other one, I'm going to put gripper close, but gripper close is going to be 3.7 millimeters and 3.7 millimeters. Because that's the distance that the object that I'm going to carry, that's the distance that I need to carry my object. So it's going to be like 3.7. So I'm going to apply. I'm going to put it here, gripper closed. I'm going to put it gripper closed underscore pick. So that's the position of picking. Apply. And finally, totally closed, 0, 0. And this is going to be gripper closed. And this is going to be my home position. Apply and cancel. So I got the 3 positions now. 1, 2, 3. I can set up some transition times. Always remember, we can set up some transition times between the gripper, the sync pose. We're not going to use that sync pose. So between all this row is going to get, we're not going to use it. So we're going to start with this one. Between the gripper open and the gripper close, how much time does it take to pick it? Let's put something like 0.1 for all of them for now. This is just exemplary. Of course, you have to, from the gripper open all the way to home position is going to take longer than from gripper open to gripper close pick position. So it's going to take longer. So, but for now, for us, let's just put 0.1 for everything. There you go, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. Yeah, with the sync position, we're not going to use this column, neither this row. And we can place OK. Let's just double check, 0.1, 0.1 in all of them. Yeah, OK. And then we can close it. And now we have our gripper. Our gripper is done. And we have the 3 positions. If you want to see the 3 positions, you can just select the gripper in here in the left tab, go to modify. And in here, move to pose. You have gripper open, gripper close pick, and home position. There you go. Yeah. Just as a side note, and please remember this because I think I forgot to do it. Because you can see that the tool center point in the previous when I was using it, it was moving. So I think I forgot, but but please do it. Do not forget. In tool data, remember every time we put tool data, that in here, like where does this tool data belongs to? And we have to put the base link because it has to be referenced, this tool data and this position of the TCP has to be referenced with the base links. Otherwise, it's going to move with either with the right or with the left of the the right arm or the left arm of the gripper. So always put here the base link, just as a side note, so that we don't forget. So OK, and then in here I don't have to compile anything else because I just did it. Yeah, but there you go. Now you can see that the TCP, here you go. If I put modify and I move to pose to gripper open, gripper close, and home position. And you see the TCP always stays in the center. Okay? That's why we have to put this with reference to the base, because the base is the one that doesn't move. The one that they move, the ones that they move, you can have a reference with the movement, with the ones that move. So, okay, now we have our TCP, now we have our gripper, everything is done. We can attach the gripper to the robot just by dragging and dropping it into the robot. Do you want to update? Yes, we update the position. And now we can make everything visible again. Actually, the robot was already visible, but okay, there you go. So that's the robot with the gripper. And we can make everything visible again. There you go. Now I have my TCP, I have my robot, and I have everything. Yeah, as in the previous tutorials, you can see the work envelope. Yeah, without the tool and with the active tool. By the way, you have to be aware of the gripper weight and the amount of weight that the robot can carry. Yeah. Also, you have to be aware that never use the robot like all the way to the limit of the envelope, because otherwise you're going to fully extend the arm, and you can get into singularities or any other weird behavior like that. So please be aware of that. Yeah, every time you're configuring this, just make sure you have a workable region and you don't get into any singularities. So let's switch off this. You can have the 3D volume if you want. It's the same. Let's switch off this. Close. There you go. And now the next thing that we're going to be adding is a simple workspace in here in front of the robot, a simple workspace, and a simple. We're going to make a small conveyor so that we can see how a conveyor works. How can we make a conveyor to work? And so let's add a simple conveyor. So let's add a conveyor from the import library here, and then from the import library, let's go to conveyors. If you don't have the conveyors library, do not worry. You can add it in here in add-ins. Yeah, and in here, there is a lot of things for this software that you can actually add. You can see you have even state machines. You have a lot of things in there. So yes, you can add it. Yeah, in here from Robot Studio add-ins if you want. You can see you have a lot of things in here, and in Robot Studio models, you can add other robot models that you have, and in here you have the conveyors. So you can just go to Robot Studio models, and you have already conveyors and also some robots as well. So you can do all this, all the simulation with all these tools that you have. Yeah, so it's quite good if you want to simulate like big stuff. Yeah, you can do it from here. You also have some small grippers already pre-done for you. Yeah, in this case we made our own, but you can use it as well. So again, home add-ins, you go to add-ins and then Robot Studio models, and in here you just select conveyors, and in here of course it's going to appear here add. I already have it, that's why it doesn't appear, but in here I have remove. But just click add and it will be added into the import library conveyors. There you go. Of course, one of the best way to do it is make your own conveyor. Yeah, in this case, because this is a tutorial, I'm not going to make a conveyor. I'm just going to use one that is already there. And if you prefer one type of conveyor, there are many. You can go to any library online and you can download it from there, or you can either draw it from scratch. In this case, because it's a tutorial, I'm just going to use this conveyor. Just going to click on it. I'm going to leave it as the width, like 950, the width of the conveyor. I'm going to make it smaller, actually. And a length of 4 meters. So I'm just going to click OK. And you can see it's a very massive conveyor, like for big boxes or large boxes. Yeah. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it smaller because I can scale it up. That's the good thing about this. So you can draw your own conveyor. I will recommend you to do that. But in this case, because it's a tutorial, I don't have time. So the first thing I'm going to do is in here, I'm going to disconnect from the library, because if I kept it connected to the library, it's not going to allow me to modify this conveyor. It's going to keep it static because it's a library. So I'm going to disconnect it from the library, and now I can modify this conveyor as much as I want. And to do that, I'm going to click on this, modify, and in here I'm going to scale it up. Well, scale it down. In this case, I'm going to put 0.22. Let's see, I'm going to make it smaller. There you go, like quite small now, which I like it. Let me just see if I scale it correctly. I'm going to measure this from here to there, 235.4. There you go. So, and then I close. There you go. I have my conveyor totally scaled. And why? Because I'm gonna use this for small things. So I'm gonna imagine I'm gonna have a conveyor there. This is just example, an example. So if you want something more realistic, of course you have to select more realistic components. Now the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the conveyor to be near the robot. So I'm gonna just select the conveyor, modify, set position, and I'm gonna put it around maybe here in between the two tables, more or less. Here you go, more or less. I can just select that point there, and you can see my conveyor immediately moves, translates there. I'm gonna apply, and there you go, close. And that's it. I just put my conveyor. I just put it in that position. Yeah, I can actually put it a little bit in the front, maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna put it a bit in the front. I cancel the operation, the set position operation, but in the same position, between the two tables, just between here, just in the center, like there. I'm just gonna click in there and just put it back so that it gets a bit closer to my robot. So I press apply. There you go. Now I have it around there. You can place it wherever you want. I place it in there because, I'm going to do a pick and place thing, a pick and place mission. So basically, I'm going to put the object in here. I'm going to make the conveyor move. I'm going to make it move using the conveyor, set the piece in here, and when it arrives here, this is going to come, pick it up, and place it into another place, and put it into another place. And well, that's it for now. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to define my conveyor as a mechanism so that I can move things in my conveyor. So the first thing that I do here is to basically we're going to make a mechanism like I already stated. So we have the conveyor, then we're going to import from here. We're going to import some, import the geometry. In this case, we can make in here, usually what a lot of people like to do is to make a tray. And to do that, they just make a solid and they put it in here like a small box in there. But I already have something pre-built for you. You can make your own trays. They are easy to do. But in here, I already have one for you, which is we have the PCR base fixture B1. So I'm going to open that. And as you can see, it's a tray that is going to carry some PCR plates. Yeah, you can make your own. Just make a rectangle there and that's more than enough. And it's going to be exactly the same. So now I have that. I'm going to modify the position. Yeah, I'm going to set it. And I'm going to click I'm going to select again the PCR fixture, modify, set position, and I'm going to click that corner there. Always remember to click the red square there and the corner there. Apply, close, and now we have it. We have a tray that is on top of my conveyor. Now we're going to make a mechanism, and this mechanism will make the conveyor work, like actually moving this tray left and right. So let's go to modeling, then create mechanism. In here, I'm going to call it conveyor. The type of mechanism in this case is not a tool, actually it's a device that we're going to be using. In kinematic type, we're going to select other. Then links, a pop-up is going to come. We're going to select the first link, which is the base, basically the conveyor, add it. That's the base link. We're going to select another link, which is the fixture, or in this case, if you draw another type of, like a rectangle, you just select the rectangle, apply, then that's it. Then we're going to do some joints. It's going to be a prismatic joint because it's going to move left and right. So the base link and the child link, that's it. The first position, we're going to define the position of the joint, well, how the joint is going to work. In this case, it's going to be parallel, so we can select any points as long as the movement is parallel to the, that's it. I'm going to move it in that direction. Yeah. And in here, I can select how far will my conveyor go. For this case, we're gonna set up the minimum distance to 0. I'm sorry, the maximum limit, so 0. So it's gonna start there, and the other distance to be 470, because more or less just by moving it, kind of look like a 470. It's fine. Yeah, so 470. We're gonna keep it like this, and then we're gonna say apply, and then cancel because that's the only movement that I want. Then we're gonna compile the mechanism, and we're gonna add some poses to the mechanism. In this case, let's add in here, we're gonna add 2 different poses, like for example, conveyor pose init, which is that one. I'm gonna apply, and conveyor pose pick. You can name it any way you want, and this is going to be 470. Apply, and that's it. So we have these 2 poses, yeah, and we're going to close. Now we have the 2 poses for the conveyor. By the way, I forgot. Yes, I forgot. We're going to go to modify mechanism because we didn't set up the transition times between each one of them. Yeah. So for the transition times, we're going to put some small numbers like 0.5 and 0.5. Like remember, between the pose init and pose peak and pose peak and pose init. The rest of the poses, we're not going to use them. We're going to use only those 2. Now I can close this, and I can see if I select my mechanism, I can modify it, move to pose, and I can verify the movement up here. You can see that it's moving from the init to the pose peak. Now, the next step is to make this work, using using a PLC or using something. In this case, we're going to use a PLC or the controller, the controller from the robot. We're going to use it to move the conveyor. Yeah. For this robot in particular, if we go to controller, you will see all the inputs and outputs of the controller. And in here, you can see that this robot, exactly in this controller, in particular, has a lot of digital inputs and digital outputs that we can use. Yeah, some other robots might not have this, but you can, make a new signal like previously, like the one we did in the previous tutorial. You can make a new signal and, try to emulate like the controller is connected to a PLC and the PLC is sending the signals. But in this case, this one already has some digital inputs and digital outputs, so we might use them. If you don't like to use these ones, just create a new signal and it's going to be the same thing. Remember, everything is simulated. But in here you have like input and output, integrated internal device. So inside the PLC, there is a small PLC or something, a controller device. And they allow us to connect things. Yeah, and actually this is quite normal for small robots like this one. This is a small robot. So let's use this digital inputs and outputs. And to this end, we're going to create several inputs. Like for example, let's first create let's use this input. Double click on it. A pop-up window will appear. And let's put a name to this one. Let's put a name like, for example, conveyor peak position, or position conveyor position is better. Peak. I can put a description. I can just copy paste this as a description. Here we go, the description. And now this input, what is going to be doing? So when the conveyor reaches a position, in this case the peak position, remember we programmed the peak position. When the conveyor reaches the peak position, this digital input will turn to 1, will change the value to 1. Yeah. So now this input is connected, is connected to a thing or to something, to a process in the station. Okay, it's no longer, remember in the previous tutorial, you have the inputs and outputs and you can click on them like on or off. But in this case, we are not going to click it as the user. On the contrary, something in the station, like in this case, the conveyor, is going to activate, like we are connecting some sort of sensor at the conveyor. And actually, that's what we're going to be doing. That's why we have to change the access level, because this input is going to be activated by someone else or by something else, not by me or not by the robot itself. So that's why we have to change this to all. Yeah. So that all the, anything that we declare in our station can activate this input. So we're going to say, okay. In here it says that it will not take effect until the controller is restarted. Of course, the controller needs to be restarted in order for this to update the inputs and outputs. Let's put another input. Like in this case, conveyor position home. Let's put home. There you go. I'm going to put the same as a label, as the identification label. The same is going to be a sensor on the conveyor that is going to activate this. So I'm going to put all in there and then OK. It's OK. I know it's not going to take effect right now. And then let's do a digital output, basically something to control the conveyor. So let's do a digital output here. We're going to use, this is our digital input. Let's go to digital output here. And in here, we can say it's going to be move conveyor. Yeah, we're going to call it like this. So this digital output will activate or deactivate my conveyor. I'm going to put the same in the description. You can leave this without anything. It's fine. Access level all. Why all? Because we're going to move something in the station, something that is not the robot per se. So we're going to say all, yes, okay. And now we're going to restart our controller. We're going to press here and do restart. Okay. And you can see that it's restarting. It's going to take a few seconds or maybe a minute. There you go. Now it's restarted. And now, now my inputs and outputs are defined. Now let's go then to the simulation. Yeah. And now we're going to do something that is in order to animate or in order to make things move in this station. Remember, the whole thing is the station. We're going to use, there are different ways. Yeah, you can use the station simulation setup or station logic. Yeah, you can use this too. But in here, we're going to do we're going to use the event manager. So you have here configure, and on the side, there is like a small square up there. There's like a small square there. We're going to click it in this corner. We're going to click the corner. And this new window is going to appear. As you can see, sometimes it appears as a tab in here. So you just click the tab and that's it. So using this event manager, I can program all the events that are happening and that will happen and how they are interconnected with each other. Yeah. In this case, the first event that I'm gonna set up is the move conveyor. So what do I want? I want that when I click or when the output, the digital output of my PC, of my PLC or my controller, whatever that is, when the digital output of my controller, changes to 1, move the conveyor. When it goes to 0, move the conveyor again. So I'm going to add in here an event. A new pop-up window will appear. And now I'm going to select the type, the trigger event or the trigger type. In this case, it's going to be the signal change. This is going to be the trigger of the event. Then I'm going to select which signal do I want to use as trigger. In this case, I'm going to use the digital output, move conveyor. Yeah. when the signal is true or when the signal is false. In this case, let's say when the signal is true, I put next. What should I do? What is the action? So in this case, we're gonna move a mechanism to a pause. Yeah, we're gonna move that mechanism to pause. We click next, and now our mechanisms are gonna be here. As you can see, we have our conveyor there. This is our conveyor. We're gonna select our conveyor, and to which pose, if for example, if the digital output of my controller is 1, I want my conveyor to go to the peak position or to the pose peak. Remember, when we created our mechanism, we defined this position. And when the pose is reached, what should I do? This is kind of like a sensor. I'm not going to say like a full sensor, but it kind of emulates a type of sensor, so to speak. Yeah, so I'm going to add some digital. These are station signals. So basically signals that are not from my controller, signals that are generated by a certain event happening. Yeah, in this case, it's going to be station signal. It's a signal. It's going to be a digital signal. Yeah, station signal. Yeah, I'm going to put it. I'm going to put station signal underscore conveyor pose. Yeah, I always try to put the names of the signals. Yeah, in this case, conveyor pose peak. There you go. And I'm going to set it to true. So what am I saying in here? When the conveyor reaches the position peak, this signal is going to go to true. It's going to be set to true. Yeah. So I'm just going to click on finish. And there you go. You can see that it appears down here. It's the same thing. When the signal, this is the trigger. So when this move conveyor signal is set to true, you move the conveyor wherever the conveyor is, move it to the peak position, and set this signal or this station signal. In this case, we're emulating like a sensor. Set it to true. Yeah. So what did I do? When this thing reaches the end of basically the peak position, remember the peak position was here. When it reaches here, this is going to send a signal, a station signal, kind of like a sensor. Imagine if I put a sensor there. Yeah. Kind of like a sensor. It's going to send a signal. Yeah, it's a station because this is the station. It's going to send a signal to this from the station. I go back to the event manager, and I'm going to set that signal to true. Yeah. Now, what happens if my conveyor, if my move conveyor goes to 0? I have to add that event as well. So the same thing, a signal is changed. In this case, move conveyor, but in this case, what happens if it's 0? If it's 0, I want my conveyor to go to the home position. Yeah, in this case, move mechanism to pause. The conveyor, take it to pause init, to the initial position. Yeah, and I'm going to add another signal, station signal, conveyor, pause. I'm going to put it home, conveyor pause home, and I'm going to set it to true. Yeah, you can see set to true. I'm going to click finish, and there you go. Conveyor set to true, and this one pause peak set to true. So now I have my station signals. Okay. Now each of these signals represents two different sensors, basically one sensor at the end of the conveyor and one sensor at the beginning of the conveyor. So when this reaches this position, it's going to activate my station signal, my conveyor pause peak, and when this thing is in that position, it's going to activate the pause home. I can go back to my event manager, and now, okay, I have defined those two. I have defined those two, but I also want that these signals, they go to my controller. So I need to connect these station signals to my controller. To do that, I'm going to add input-output connection. And basically here I'm gonna activator signals in here, add. I'm gonna the peak position, okay. And in here, I can make a connection just like in Simulink. Look at this. I can just make the connection from the input to the output. By the way, you can put in here like a lot of logic, like and or not or something like that. For example, here you can put ands. If you have different signals that they must be activated so that this other thing starts or something like that, yeah, you can do them in here. In this case, I just want the conveyor post peak directly to the output. And the output is going to be the input, yeah, the input of my controller. So what am I doing? The station signal that I just created, or the output of the sensor, remember the sensor at the peak position, I am connecting this sensor to the digital inputs of my controller. I'm connecting it to there. I'm going to do the same for the other signal. Connection, next. Add a signal, in this case the home position. Okay, I'm going to connect it directly. Next. And I'm going to activate this signal is going to activate or deactivate the input signal in the input of the controller, the second input, by the way. Yeah, and there you go. Yeah, and now I can go back to my simulation. And for example, here I can input output simulator. You can see that here in my input output simulator, I have my controller. Yeah, and you can see that I have the input output digital output of the move conveyor. I can, because I haven't programmed anything, I can test it from here. If you can see, I can press 1 and it moves that way. If I press 0, it moves the other way. But in here, even though we move this, we notice one issue. You can see that, for example, here, my inputs, the inputs to my controller, they are turned on. And actually, I can check my station signals. Look at this, they are turned on, both of them, because I'm not turning off the other one. You know, I just turn it on in here and turn it on there, and, you know, both of them are going to be turned on forever. So what I need is to add something that when I move this there, I turn off this one, and when I move this there, I turn off the other one. Yeah, like a sensor, like a normal sensor will do. So there are different ways to do that. One simple way will be like, okay, let's go to the trigger to the first one, the first event that we created. And down here, we have, remember, this was when I move the conveyor, and when I move the conveyor, when I output something, the digital output of something. Yeah, in this case, this one change to 1. I move the mechanism, the conveyor to the peak pose. But I can add other actions. I cannot only have one action, I can add more. So one other action that I can do is change input output. Yeah. And in here, I'm going to change the station signal, home, and I'm going to set it to false. Okay. So I put okay. And I will do the same for the other option. In this case, I'm going to add an action, change input output, change the station signals, yeah, and change the peak position, because I am moving to the home position now. I'm going to change the peak position to false. Okay, and actually I can alter the order in here because basically it says, when I detect 0, what is the first thing to do? I will move the mechanism and then I change the input and output. Maybe we can change it like this. Yeah, the same thing for the previous one. So first change the input and output and then move the mechanism to the pose. Yeah. You can leave it in the previous order, it's the same. It's not going to affect. But now we have this. And now we can see that if I am in here, my conveyor position peak is turned on. And if I move the conveyor, like for example, imagine that this output is from the controller. Right now, I don't have anything in my controller, so I can move it like manually. If I click it, if I put a 0, it's going to move there. and it's going to deactivate and activate the sensor in there. I'm going to deactivate and activate the sensor there. You can see that it's activating and deactivating the sensors. You can check the station signals, which is the same. In this case, I'm in the home position, and I can go to my controller, and you can see my station signal also changes. Because they are connected, the station signals are the same ones as these two inputs. Yeah. So now it's like I have two sensors, one in there and one in there, and I can just move my conveyor between each other. Yeah. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we're going to program, the controller, because what I want is I'm going to move the conveyor automatically, like several times, just as an example for this task. But before we do that, this is the initial position of everything. This is my initial state, and I want this to be my initial state. So in here in reset, there is a small arrow there, and I can say save current state. A pop-up window will appear, and I can put in here like init pose, or like initial state. I can put, instead of pose, no, I'm going to put init state. So this is the initial state of my simulation. This is how I'm going to start. I'm going to include it to save it, because I'm going to save it in the, when I save this everything, I can save it in there. I can put OK. And now, even though I am in the other one, if I reset this to the init state, it's going to reset everything the way I decide, the way I choose before. Okay? It's going to reset the whole simulation. Quite handy, by the way. Now, let's program something in Rapid. Let's go to Rapid. Let's go to the main module. And in here in the main module, we're going to program something very, very simple, just to make sure that we are that this thing is moving. I'm going to move this conveyor, like, just to play with it. Okay, so the first thing is I'm going to activate this conveyor. I'm going to make it to go home. So set digital output. Yeah. In here you will see that the digital outputs appear in here. This is my move conveyor. Yeah. Set it to 0. So I'm going to start from the home position. Then I'm going to wait for a digital input. In this case, I'm sorry, yeah. I'm going to wait to see if it's actually at home, or maybe instead of making to check if it's at home, we can check that if the peak position is off as well, or whatever. I can check if it's at home if you want. Yeah, I'm gonna wait some time. I'm gonna put 0.5 seconds just to make it slow, because otherwise it's gonna be quite fast, the movement. Yeah, and now I can actually do the same thing. Set digital output. Move conveyor. I'm going to set it to 1. And I'm going to wait DI. I'm going to wait for the peak position to turn on. I'm going to wait for the position that my conveyor is in the position peak, and then I'm going to wait a bit more. Yeah, and I'm going to return then my conveyor to the home position. There you go. I'm going to apply this, apply all, and I'm going to synchronize to the station. Of course, I can make it more robust, checking if the peak position is on and the home position is off, etc. So I can do some changes, but for now, I'm just playing with it. Let's see if this works. So I can press play in here, and according to what I did, it's gonna go and return. Let's see. There you go, and return. There you go. And everything now is automatic. I just press play in my simulation. You can see, and there you go. So now I can go back to rapid and let's play a bit more. In this case, I'm gonna take this time to teach you about for loops. I can make a for loop here from 0 to 3 do. Okay, let's do this in here, and 4. Yeah, so I'm gonna do this 3 times. I'm gonna declare a variable I bar numeric I. There you go. And I'm gonna do this thing like 3 times. Let's see if this works. I apply all, synchronize to the station, synchronize everything. And then I'm just gonna hit play in here. I'm just gonna hit play and let's see. So it's gonna make it 4 times from 0 to 3. There you go. And with that, I have just control, from my rapid or my rapid program. I control the inputs and outputs of this using the inputs and outputs of the controller that I have. I can control my simulation using the event manager. Okay, now we're going to extend this the same thing that we did with this conveyor. We're going to extend it to the gripper. Very simple. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to create in here some in configuration input outputs. We're going to create some. We're going to use another inputs and outputs. Yeah. So in this case, we're going to be using an output to control the gripper. So the second output in here, we can put gripper control. Yeah, I can put this in the description if you want. And I'm going to put it all because the gripper is not part of the system. It's a mechanism. It's another mechanism. So I need this output to reach that mechanism. So all, okay. I know, and here, okay. I'm going to make also another input. I'm going to use one of these inputs. Remember, if you don't have inputs, you can create your own, so it's fine. Let's put in here some other inputs. Gripper state. Yeah, the same. This is to monitor if the gripper is open or closed. The same all in here. Don't forget about that. And then we press OK. Now we have our gripper state and our gripper control. We're going to restart our controller so that it updates. It's restarting. Just give it a couple minutes, a couple seconds. There you go. Now, we're going to go to simulation and we're going to use the event manager again. Let's go to the event manager. And in here, we're going to add an event. In this case, we're going to control the gripper. So if the gripper signal from my controller, this one, the gripper control, is true, we're going to move a mechanism. In this case, we're going to the gripper, and we're going to move it to the close pick position because we're going to pick that. We're going to add a station signal. Imagine if sometimes some of the grippers, they have some sensors, So in this case, we're simulating a sensor in the gripper that tells us if the gripper is closed or open. Yeah, so a station signal. Yeah, we're going to put it gripper state. There you go. Set to true, finish. Okay. I'm going to add another event as well. In this case, the same, but what if my gripper control is false? So if it's false, I'm going to move mechanism to pose, the gripper and I'm gonna put it to open. Yeah, and this one, the gripper state, I'm gonna set it to false. So finish with that. Sometimes this appears. Yeah, you just refresh this. Yeah, this is because sometimes it doesn't update correctly the events, so it takes a while to update. So we just click refresh, and we make sure that our events are correct. Now, this sensor, the station signal gripper state, yeah, we're gonna connect it to an input of my controller. So add in here connection, next, add in here the gripper state. Okay, we're just gonna link it there, well, or at least try to. There you go. Next. And then we're gonna go to the digital input gripper state, finish. There you go. Now everything is connected now. We can see that everything is working if we go back to the to the simulation. We don't play the simulation yet. And we can see that in here, the station signal, the gripper state is 0. But if we go to my controller, I have my output, the gripper control here. And if I click on it, the gripper is going to move and the gripper state is going to change to 1. And if I move it, if I click it again, it's going to go to 0, and so on and so forth. Now I have full control over my gripper. Yeah, we're going to use this. We can, of course, we're going to use it. We're going to go to the rapid, here, go to a rapid module. And in here in the rapid, we can make a simple program, or we can add it. You know what? I'm going to add it. I'm just going to add it in here so that you can see how it moves. Yeah. So let's see. I'm going to move the conveyor and I'm going to open the gripper. Set digital output. The gripper control, put it to 0, and wait for the gripper state to be 0 in case it's closed. I'm just going to copy paste this, Control C. There you go. I'm going to put it in each one. For example, in this one, when the tray comes to the change position, the gripper state, I want to change my gripper to 1 and 1. Yeah, I'm going to close my gripper, and when it goes away, I'm going to open my gripper. So 0 and 0 there. So then we apply all the changes, apply all. We synchronize this to the station. There you go, synchronize everything. Yeah, basically it's just going to move the tray and move the gripper. So let's go to simulation. Yeah, and we can just reset everything. Remember the initial state. There you go. We can just press play and it's going to start the simulation. And as you can see, opens, close, opens, close, open, close. Automatically, it's going to do it. I think it's 3 or 4 times. I don't remember. There you go. So this is how we do this. Actually, it's very easy. Yeah. In our next tutorial, we're going to see how to do a pick and place using this same example. Yeah. So thank you for coming and see you in the next tutorial.